What is up, guys? My name is Billy. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. In this one, I'm showing you guys how to blend with only two colors. Whether it's given like, a face depth and dimension, or just trying to give something like that three-dimensional feel, like you could reach out and grab it, right? In this video, I'm showing you guys my favorite way to practice this, and I'm going to show you the most practical technique that I use to make sure that I get those beautiful gradients, those beautiful gradients. And by no means is this going to be like an advanced video at all. This is for anybody struggling with, actually using their alcohol markers and trying to get like a really nice blend. I don't know, sometimes it can look kind of choppy or not as smooth as you might want. So this video is for you. Oh my God, are you so tired? So really, I am just gonna be using two markers, two colors that are very similar shades. I'm gonna show you the blending technique that I use to get that like really smooth transition and that pop that you want. So before we go into it, I am gonna recommend you grab any kind of coloring book. I have a Crayola Justice League coloring book that works really well. Oh, coloring book. Like, part of my pride deteriorates too when I use a coloring book, so don't worry. Just grab one. It's basically so you don't have to worry about actually drawing up anything. You know how long it actually takes for me to like get a reference, outline it, and then go over it and make sure it looks good enough to where before I even color it. And it's just a whole process. And you don't want to be focused on all these other variables when you're trying to learn like, blending technique. I know, I agree with you. Mwah. So grab a blending markers and a coloring book. Any kind of alcohol markers will do. I recommend Ohuhu blending alcohol markers. The reason I recommend that after using so many different brands is simply because the actual nib is so pointy, so you can really get into
the small little spots.
But you can really get into like fine detailed areas. Where I noticed with like Spectrum Noir, the nibs are so fat, it's really hard to get technical. So Ohuhu alcohol-based markers and a coloring book. And I'm going to show you guys how to get more dimension, how to blend using only two colors. And you can get crazy, you can really use 4 or 5 different colors if you want 4 or 5 different shades. But you can get a really beautiful look with just two markers, two colors. And I'm going to show you using this coloring book. So let's go. Oh, do you want to do it? Okay, you just got to take your hand. I'm just going to use your face. Alright, first two shades, I'm going in with R2 and R8. Two shades of red that I think will work really well together. And as usual, first thing I always do is I always swatch them down on a sheet of paper to see, how they blend and actually how they look by themselves. And the way that I'm swatching these colors is just in a circular, like elongated circular motion. You know what I mean? Like not circular completely and not back and forth, like a long oval. Oh, and by the way, my apologies for the random squeaks if you hear them. That's my new puppy playing with his squeaker toy. But first step, go in with your base color, the lightest tone, and just make sure that you get the absolute darkest tone of that lightest shade. Does that make sense? So go in with the lightest shade until there's no streaks, there's no splotchiness. The reason for splotchiness and streaks is because probably you haven't gone over it enough. You haven't applied enough layers of your first lightest color. So do that until it's one flat tone, and then I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna take the darker tone to create the illusion of depth and just make his head look overall dimensional and not flat. Because if I just did the one color of red there, then it would look just really plain. So I'm using the second tone, going in, giving him that depth on his melon, and then using the first tone and blending it out, using like a pull and push motion to kind of unite the colors there. You don't really have to, the colors kind of blend by themselves, but I always do to make it, give it that smooth gradient appearance. And you can do this as many times as you want. Take your darker tone and go back in and get it darker, because that's the great thing about alcohol markers is once one layer dries, you can kind of go back over it and it does get a little bit darker, but eventually you will have the deepest tone of whatever shade you're using. So that's why I always say, working like elongated circular motions as you're applying your first lightest base color, and make sure that it is completely flat, there's no streaks. So go over that multiple times before you start blending your second dark layer onto it. But I am liking how this is looking so far. You know, I went over his ear cups, is that what they're called, ear cups? His chin strap I'm gonna do, and you know, and just the head is really what gives it that that dimensional appearance. So, and another quick tip, make sure you apply these colors reasonably fast. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you don't, but when you do work kind of fast, it allows the colors to merge easier without like having to oversaturate, because you let the ink dry. But yeah, just apply that darker shade in areas that make sense. You know, areas that are further away, or areas that might have some curvature, like I don't know, the top of the head, top of the eyebrow, under the chin, over the chin, places like that. And just this kind of thing takes practice. It definitely takes trial and error a little bit. That's why I recommend always using like a comic book, coloring book, or any coloring book with characters in it, so you can avoid having to be a perfectionist and go through the processes of outlining and all that. All right, so this is something I really struggled with before, but you know, coloring the face can be challenging because if you get the wrong tone, you know, it's there's not a lot of room for error when it comes to like pigmentation of certain characters' skins. Like, but since this is a generalized like comic book page, it doesn't really matter. So I'm using two different shades, a light shade and a dark shade, two colors, that is it. Find two skin shades that look similar, one that's light, that like, you know, has the appearance of skin, and then one that is deeper, like a deeper beige. All right, now going in on the face and doing this slow, taking my time with this, and really focusing on where I want to leave little white spots. And what I mean by that is just little areas where I guess, you know, where the light would be on the face. So like the tip of the nose, on the lip, just places that would stick out. So that's a really crappy way to explain that, but just exposing spots that would have some kind of reflection of light. All right, now I'm just gonna take my deeper beige and I'm gonna go over the flashes, kind of the outer perimeter of the mask there, to kind of give it like a shadow effect, you know, like it's hanging down, but it's obviously on his face, but you know what I mean, it gives it a little more depth. Once again, you know, where places make sense. So I can understand there would be a shadow kind of under his faceplate there. There would definitely be a shadow under the nose, kind of on the nostrils near the back, on the sides of, you know, the sides of the bridge of the nose, perhaps under the lip, perhaps. Places, you know, that make sense. You know what I mean? Again, this is trial and error. You have to practice this. You kind of have to get a feel for it, get used to it. Yeah, so be light-handed with this. You know, don't be hard on yourself. You can be more flexible with the colors of the face, as opposed to like the boldness and frigidness of like making sure that his uniform is solid red and all that. You can be more light-handed with this. As you can see there, I just took the deeper tone there and I went over the lip, the top lip, to give that some, you know, some 3D-ness. And just finishing up the eyes, kind of going back over what I did. Because again, alcohol markers, you can layer these over and over again. And if you're using the right paper, it won't really oversaturate. It's really hard to find a coloring book that is like, you know, can withstand the saturation of the alcohol markers. But I definitely recommend this for practice. So even there, just using two different shades of yellow to kind of go over the lightning bolts on his helmet to finish him off. But I hope this tutorial helped you guys at all. If it did, please hit that like button. Dislike it if you disliked it. Comment down below. Let me know what you're struggling with currently with, you know, illustrating and all that. And please hit the subscribe button. I post videos every week, tutorials, you know, reviews, speed drawings, all that. And thank you guys so much for watching. You know, I'm still learning every day myself. I'm no pro by any means, but just being able to share something with you and also take something back is all I really want to do. So once again, thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.